All right, Larry Kruger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show, and um, this is a tough video for me to do because I really love Chris Mortensen, but the world lost a giant today in Chris Mortensen. He died today at the age of 72, and just one of my favorite people that I've ever come across in the industry. Just an amazing man, and he was ESPN's football analyst. He was an award-winning journalist. He received the Pro Football Writers of America Dick McCann Award in 2016. He was a pioneer in the industry. He was universally beloved. Just he was a great dude, and I just consider myself totally lucky to have met Mort, interviewed him on many shows and many different platforms, spoke face to face at least a dozen times through the years. Um, and it's just this one hits me kind of hard. Um, Chris Mortensen was just such a kind person, and he was such a good dude, such a good guy. He first appeared on ESPN in '91 as part of their NFL Game Day and Outside the Lines, and he was a consultant for NFL Today on CBS. He worked at the Atlanta Journal Constitution. He served in the Army for a couple of years during the Vietnam era. Began his journalism career in 1969 at a newspaper called the Daily Breeze, which was a paper based in Torrance, down in Southern California. And he went on to work for the Sporting News, and he was part of the National, like right there in 89, 90, the incredible newspaper. And that was all before he ever joined ESPN. And just an awesome guy, man. Just an awesome guy. I wish you guys all could have known Chris Mortensen. He was just so kind hearted. And this guy was being tugged in a million directions. And when you would reach out to him, he always would get back. He always would answer. Let me see if I can make that work. He was such a people pleaser. And the Mort report, was one of the reasons that ESPN exploded. Just a great guy. And his son Alex played quarterback at Arkansas and is a GA right now at Alabama. He's also survived by his wife Mickey. And I don't know what I can really say about Chris Mortensen, but I'm just happy. I feel fortunate to have known him. I feel fortunate to have worked with him. He's from Torrance. He went to North Torrance High School in Torrance, California, El Camino College, and then served, as I said, 2 years in the Army during the Vietnam War. He was a good friend of Dusty Baker. I know Dusty. Every time I would talk to Mort, he'd be like, "Hey, if you see Dusty, say hi to Dusty for me." And he just was an incredible guy, just an absolute incredible guy. He was really good at what he did, but there was a warmth about Chris that I don't know. I'm not saying that the Schefters and these other guys don't have that warmth, but they just, it's the industry's changed a little bit. Everybody's a little bit more about themselves. And Chris was just a great networker. And, he was one of the first writers hired by Frank DeFord at the National in 1989. And he came on ESPN in 1991. And just, he was just a special guy. And it's just he was a guy who you know just he covered the NFL, and he had great enthusiasm for football. But he was so much more than that, and there were people in recent years saying, why is ESPN keeping Mort on there? Well, because he's an OG, because he was an OG and he was respected, and he really worked at it. That's the one thing I'll always remember is, like, sometimes you meet some of these people and you think, man, they're really, really good at what they do. And then you realize why after you get to know them. Lon Simmons comes to mind, the late Lon Simmons. They work at it. Chris Mortensen worked at it. If he made a mistake, he tried to correct it. If he wasn't good in a certain area, he tried to improve. He was diagnosed with throat cancer, I believe, maybe a decade ago. Um, and what can you say? I mean, it was just, yeah, it was January of 2016. He announced on ESPN that he was diagnosed with stage 4 throat cancer and took a leave of absence. And he survived 8 years past the diagnosis and dies today on March 3rd of 2024. So I'm not going to tell you anything that I'm sure there are people that knew him better than me. I just love the guy. I love the guy. And when I would call him and reach out to him, he always acted like, we talked every week. Hey, what's going on, Krug? Hey, what's up, Larry? How you doing? Yeah, I'd love to come on your show. When are you thinking? And he didn't make money going on radio shows. He didn't, but he did it. Why? Because he knew that people liked his content. People wanted to. He had enthusiasm for the NFL and enthusiasm for the medium, and just a class act, man. Just a total class act. And I wish him and his family nothing but good vibes and positive thoughts. And he was a giant in our field, and he was a absolute giant who made you love the NFL. And we lost John Clayton a couple years ago. John Clayton was another guy like Chris, who was just these guys these guys hustled, and they were on the store, and they were on the job all the time, and they had every market in America. You're going to hear it tomorrow across the country. There's going to be all kinds of talk show hosts who are going to be talking about Chris Mortensen the way that I'm talking about Chris Mortensen, because Mort didn't just come on KNBR. Mort went on everybody's show. And he was just such a decent guy. And, I can remember one time booking him, and I forgot we had like a Giants hour right on KNBR, and I booked him for 7 o'clock, and I booked it on a Monday, and this was like on a Thursday night, and it's like 5 to 7, and we're just doing the face off, and the producer goes, "Hey, Krug, can you come in here? Mort's on the phone for you." And it hit me. Oh my God! I asked Mort to come on at 7:30, and I'm like, I'm doing an hour that's sponsored about the Giants, and so I'm like, Chris, where are you calling from? He's like, oh, I'm in Connecticut tonight. And I'm like, Chris, you're never going to believe this, but we have a Giants hour that I forgot we even had tonight. And so I guess maybe we'll have to reschedule. And 7:30 Pacific is 10:30 Eastern. So he was already coming on at 10:30 Eastern. He was calling me at 9:55 Eastern. And he's like, no problem. I just got in. I got to go out to the store and get a few things. You want to do it at 11 o'clock straight up? And I'm like, are you sure? He's like, absolutely. Was he making a penny? No. He hopped on the phone at 11 o'clock Eastern to talk with me because he wanted to talk football, and he knew I had as much enthusiasm for the topic as he had. Unbelievable, dude. Unbelievable guy. So we lose a great one, you know. Um, Nobody's going to live forever. We all know that. But anytime anybody passes, it's like, oh, you kidding me? And Chris was amazing, an amazing guy. And I'll miss him. I'll miss him. And we lost a guy who every time I saw him on there made me smile, because I knew how hard he worked. I knew how well he networked. I knew how it was in his blood. He loved it. He was a sports reporter and a columnist. He loved the NFL, and he had insights that were incredible. And he was on the draft coverage as recently as last year. Why? Because he had talked to everybody. Everybody talks to Mort. He had a trust. And like, I'm sure with some of the big name coaches and general managers, he would clarify, hey, is this on the record? Is this off the record? He didn't betray trust. And just fantastic. And he was great at what he did. And I always loved him because I felt like we had a shared passion, and I'll miss him. So R.I.P. Mort. No finer football reporter I've come across in my life than Chris Mortensen. Good man. R.I.P. Mort.